Welcome, chosen ones. Pay close attention because the moment you hear good news about someone you tried to bury, that's the sound of your own empire collapsing. Chosen one, your life has just entered a chapter that has everyone watching in disbelief. Think about it. Scientists say the human heart can actually skip a beat when faced with a sudden shock. That's exactly what happened to the people who spent years plotting against you the moment your good news hit the air. They didn't just get surprised. They got medically rattled. See, they thought they had the ending of your story already written. They pictured you stuck, stranded, silenced forever. And now here you are, not only standing but thriving. And it's giving them migraines they can't medicate away. The very thing they swore would never happen for you has happened. And let's be honest, it's hilarious watching the same mouths that mocked you now, struggling to form sentences. This isn't just a blessing for you. It's a declaration, a cosmic announcement that their game is over. Your good news is a trumpet blast, a spotlight, a final stamp of truth they can't erase. And the irony, the very thing they feared most, wasn't your suffering, it was your survival. Now that survival has turned into undeniable victory. They're shaking. Because you didn't just rise, you rose in full view of the world. Stay locked in, because what we're about to unpack will show you why your breakthrough terrifies them more than any battle ever could. This isn't just a win, it's the revelation that the game they built around your downfall has officially collapsed. And guess what? You warned them first. Number one, your breakthrough shattered their last illusion of power. Your breakthrough shattered their last illusion of power. For the longest time, they convinced themselves that they had control over your destiny. They thought if they whispered the right lies, blocked the right opportunities, or played their cards in certain ways, they could keep you stuck. It was never real control. It was smoke and mirrors. The only thing they truly held was an illusion. And the illusion worked as long as you stayed quiet, overlooked, or still struggling. But the moment your good news broke out, everything they built around that false sense of power collapsed instantly. See, when people live on illusions, they need others to believe in those illusions for them to survive. They depended on the idea that others saw you as finished, as ordinary, as someone who would never rise. That was their safety net. It allowed them to walk around like they had authority over your life, as if their opinions or judgments carried weight. But when your blessing became undeniable, when your breakthrough became public knowledge, that illusion died. They can no longer tell the world you're nothing. Because your success is living proof otherwise. This is why they're terrified. Your breakthrough didn't just uplift you, it exposed their emptiness. Everything they did to keep you small now looks weak and pointless. They can't lean on their old narratives anymore because your elevation tore those lies apart. It's one thing to quietly grow in private that they could ignore. But when the growth becomes so loud it reaches everyone, they lose the power of control they thought they had. And let's be real, they never expected you to survive, let alone thrive. They thought time was on their side, that sooner or later you'd break down permanently. Instead, your victory showtime was always working for you, not them. That's what terrifies them. The realization that the game ended the moment you rose. Now every mask they wore, every little performance of superiority is cracked. Your breakthrough pulled the curtain back and left them exposed for what they really are. Powerless, without the illusion. That's why your good news hit like an earthquake. It wasn't just about you winning. It was about them finally seeing the truth they've been running from. Their control never existed. It was all an illusion and it's over. Number two, your success exposed their failure without you saying a word. Your success exposed their failure without you saying a single word. That's the part that eats at them the most. You didn't have to call them out. You didn't have to clap back. You didn't even have to defend yourself. The weight of your breakthrough spoke louder than anything you could have said, and it landed like a verdict. They were hoping your silence would keep them safe, that you would fade away quietly while they looked like the ones who had it all together. But now your victory has flipped the script, and their failures are written all over the background of your success. It's one thing for someone to fail privately. They can brush it off, make excuses, and keep the facade alive. But when someone they tried to bury rises in full view, their excuses crumble. Your good news draws a line that can't be blurred. While they were busy sabotaging, gossiping, and plotting, you were building resilience. And now the results are showing. Every blessing that has come to you is proof that their strategies not only failed, but wasted their time. They could have been working on themselves, but instead they made you their project. That project backfired. What's striking is that your success didn't require their approval, connections, or even their acknowledgement. It came despite their efforts, and because of that, it shines a light on their own lack of growth. It's easy for people to feel secure when everyone is struggling, but the moment one person breaks through, it exposes the fact that the rest stayed stagnant. Your story leaves them no room to hide. Their failure isn't just in what they didn't achieve. It's in the fact that they tried to block someone else's path and still couldn't stop the outcome. Now every celebration of your success echoes as a reminder of their inability to deliver on their own lives. They can't spin it because your win isn't built on shortcuts, manipulation, or deception. It's solid, and when something is solid, it makes the hollow things look even hollower. That's what terrifies them. Your good news doesn't just crown you, it uncovers them. Without you ever speaking a word, the contrast between your rise and their stagnation is undeniable. You became the proof they never wanted to see, that while they were busy trying to block your future, they failed to secure their own. Number 3, they're terrified because your win proves they wasted years trying to stop you. They're terrified because your win proves they wasted years trying to stop you. That's the sharpest sting of all. All the energy they poured into holding you back. All the effort they invested in making sure you didn't move forward. All the late nights plotting and the endless drama, it was all for nothing. Your breakthrough revealed that everything they did was powerless in the long run. That truth is unbearable for them because it doesn't just show that you rose. It shows that their entire strategy was useless. People who dedicate themselves to destroying others live under a dangerous illusion that their schemes actually matter. They trick themselves into thinking that the more they attack, the more control they have. But the moment you stepped into victory, it shattered that illusion. All those years of gossip, betrayal, sabotage, and manipulation now look like a bad investment. They threw away precious time chasing your downfall instead of building their own foundation. And now you've risen, while they're left with nothing but the bitterness of wasted years. The scariest part for them is the realization that nothing they did delayed the inevitable. Every setback they created only strengthened you. Every loss they tried to force on you ended up planting a seed of resilience that grew into your blessing. They thought they were slowing you down, but in reality, they were speeding up your preparation. That's the kind of irony that keeps them awake at night. Now your good news plays like a loud announcement that their sacrifices of time, energy, and even relationships they destroyed just to hurt you didn't matter. They gambled everything on the idea that you'd stay stuck, and they lost. There is no refund for years wasted. There is no reset button. Their defeat isn't just in your rise. It's in the fact that they'll never get back the time they wasted trying to keep you low. And that's why they're terrified, because time is the one thing you can't replace. Your blessing revealed not only their failure to stop you, but also their failure to use their own time wisely. While you were being built, they were being drained. Your victory is their reminder that every effort against you was in vain, and the years they wasted are gone forever. Number 4, your elevation makes their excuses obsolete. Your elevation makes their excuses obsolete. For the longest time, they were comfortable pointing at life, circumstances, or other people as the reason for their lack of progress. Life is unfair. The system is rigged. I didn't have the right support. Those became their shields, their safety blankets, the story they told themselves to sleep at night. But your breakthrough stripped those excuses bare because you didn't just face the same obstacles. They were heavier on you. You didn't just endure setbacks. You were deliberately targeted, yet you still rose. That fact alone makes their narrative collapse under its own weight. What unnerves them most is the contrast. They can no longer claim it couldn't be done when you're standing as living evidence that it can. Your success throws their stagnation into sharp relief, and suddenly life is unfair doesn't sound so convincing anymore. You prove that resilience doesn't just survive unfairness. Excuses they don't land. They crumble in their own hands because everyone can see the truth. The problem wasn't the world. It was their refusal to fight through it. This is why your good news stings so deeply. It doesn't just lift you, it exposes them. You've made visible what they've worked hard to keep hidden. Their laziness, their unwillingness to stretch, their comfort in mediocrity. They weren't waiting for opportunity. They were waiting for someone else to fail. So their own lack of movement didn't look so obvious. And now here you are, shining in a way that no one can ignore. They're terrified because your rise kills their last hiding place. They can't say it's impossible because you've done it. They can't say the odds are unbeatable because you overcame them. They can't even say they didn't know better because your story teaches everyone watching that strength was always the key, not excuses. And that's the dagger. They realize they wasted years defending their stagnation. While you use the same years to grow into your destiny, your elevation leaves them standing naked before the truth. It was never the world that stopped them. It was themselves. And now with you as proof, their excuses don't just sound weak. They don't exist anymore. Number 5, they know your story can't be erased anymore. They know your story can't be erased anymore. That's what has them restless, because for so long they survived off distortion. They told their version of your life, painting you as less than what you were, hoping people would never see the truth. As long as your story was private, they had room to twist it, to water it down, to dismiss it. But now your breakthrough has gone public, and the testimony of what you survived can't be hidden or rewritten. It's bigger than memory. It's a record, stamped and undeniable. Your good news is more than a blessing. It's evidence. It stands as proof that you endured, that you overcame, that everything they tried to bury you under became the soil that produced your rise. Evidence can't be debated. It either exists or it doesn't, and in your case, it exists in full view. They can't argue with results. They can't erase the timing, and they can't silence the witnesses who saw you at your lowest and are now watching you at your highest. That permanence is their worst nightmare. The power of your testimony is that it locks the truth in place. Even if they tried to spin another lie today, it wouldn't matter. Too many people know. Too much has been revealed. What once was whispered about you is now shouted as fact. And facts don't bow to manipulation. This is why your good news unsettles them. It's not just about your success. It's about their inability to edit your story anymore. They are terrified because your elevation exposes their failure to stop you in real time. And now it will be remembered. History does not ask permission from liars. It preserves the truth of what really happened, and you've crossed into the place where your story belongs to more than just you. It belongs to every person who will hear it and find hope in it. That's what rattles them to their core. They can't undo your survival. They can't erase your triumph. They can't silence the evidence. Your good news is forever imprinted, and with every passing day it cements deeper. They once held the power to manipulate perception, but that power is gone. The record has been written, and it's permanent. Number 6, they're afraid because your blessing doesn't need their permission. They're afraid because your blessing doesn't need their permission. For years they moved like they held the keys to your life, as if nothing could shift for you unless they stamped it with their approval. They loved the idea of being gatekeepers, the ones who decided who rises and who stays stuck. That illusion gave them a sense of control. But your good news shattered that belief in an instant. Your blessing didn't pass through their hands. It didn't require their signatures, and it didn't ask for their validation. It arrived untouched by their influence, and that truth rattles them to the bone. What terrifies them most is that your breakthrough bypassed every system they trusted in. They thought their connections, networks, and social status gave them the upper hand. They believed they could pull strings, close doors, and make sure you never walked through certain opportunities. But your blessing came from a source that can't be bribed, manipulated, or lobbied. It came directly from God, and no human gatekeeping can block that. When a door like that opens, it doesn't swing on human hinges. It's wide, permanent, and untouchable. Your elevation exposes the weakness of the system they war-ripped. It proves that they never truly had authority over you, only over the illusion of access. They loved making people feel like success had to pass through them, but your testimony proves otherwise. That's the part that makes them uneasy. Because if you could be blessed without their permission, then anyone can. And that strips away the false power they've held over others for years. Now they're stuck watching you thrive in a space they swore you'd never reach. And the worst part is they can't take any credit for it. Your blessing doesn't trace back to their favor, their introductions, or their networks. It stands independent, a living example that God doesn't need middlemen to deliver destiny. And that independence exposes them. They are terrified because your rise is undeniable proof that they were never gatekeepers, only pretenders guarding doors that didn't belong to them in the first place. Your blessing bypassed their approval because it never required it. And that realization crushes their illusion of control. Number 7, your victory closed every back door they planned against you. Your victory closed every back door they planned against you. For so long, they moved with the confidence of people who thought they always had another play left. If one scheme didn't work, they had a backup. If one lie didn't stick, they spread another. If one trap failed, they built a new one. They lived on the idea that there was always a next time, always another way to twist things in their favor and keep you where they wanted you. But your breakthrough slammed that door shut so hard that every escape route they counted on vanished in an instant. What your success represents is finality. It's not just a win. It's a win that can't be undone. They can't go back to the drawing board because there is no board left for them to play on. Your blessing sealed the game, stamped it and locked it. They're left standing with strategies in their hands that no longer have any power. That terrifies them because their sense of control always depended on believing they had one more move to play against you. Now there is no move left. They underestimated the kind of victory you were stepping into. They thought it would be small enough for them to spin or manipulate. But instead, your breakthrough came in a way that made everything permanent. It's the kind of shift that can't be reversed, can't be questioned, can't be blocked once it's out in the open. And that's the part that breaks them. They're staring at the end of a game they thought they could keep playing forever. Now every door they used to slip through is bolted shut. The lies don't land anymore. The traps won't work anymore. The people they once used against you have seen the truth and won't play along anymore. Your victory didn't just elevate you. It dismantled the cycle of control they depended on. They are terrified because your breakthrough means final defeat. No rematch, no reset, no we'll get them next time. It's over. And the scariest part for them is knowing they'll spend the rest of their lives remembering that the game ended. Not when they planned, but when you rose. Your victory closed every back door, and now they are permanently locked out. Number 8, your good news forces them to face what they did to you. Your good news forces them to face what they did to you. For years, they found comfort in your struggles. As long as you were down, they didn't have to think about the role they played in breaking you. They could dismiss their actions, laugh them off, or even convince themselves that you somehow deserved it. Your pain gave them cover. It kept their conscience quiet. But now that you've risen, that cover is gone. Your elevation plays like a movie reel, replaying every cruel word, every betrayal, every attempt to crush you. And it looks absurd in the light of your success. What eats at the most is the contrast. When you were hurting, they felt powerful, as if their cruelty carried weight. But your breakthrough stripped that illusion. The same things they once used to laugh about now look pitiful. The cruelty they inflicted doesn't age well when the person they tried to bury stands tall, thriving in plain sight. Their actions are no longer framed as jokes, clever moves, or just the way things are. They are framed as evidence of their own weakness, proof that they wasted their energy, tearing down someone they couldn't destroy. Your success shines like a mirror they can't avoid. They may try to look away, but everywhere they turn they see you flourishing. And in that flourishing, they're confronted with themselves. They see the unnecessary harshness, the moments they could have shown grace but chose venom, the times they had a chance to help but chose to hurt. Your good news exposes their pettiness in a way nothing else could. It doesn't just remind them of what they did. It shows them how pointless it all was. The truth is, guilt is easier to ignore when the victim stays down. But when the one they tried to break rises higher than they ever dreamed, that guilt becomes impossible to escape. Your victory makes their cruelty echo louder. It magnifies and forces them to sit with the reality that everything they threw at you only served to highlight their own emptiness. That's why your good news unsettles them so deeply. It isn't just your rise, it's the reflection it creates. And in that reflection, they're forced to face the undeniable truth. They didn't stop you. They only exposed themselves. Number 9, they fear that your testimony will inspire others. They fear that your testimony will inspire others. That's the real danger to them. Not just that you rose, but that your rise has become visible proof that others can too. Your victory isn't just a private win, it's contagious. People are watching how you survived what was meant to destroy you, and they're realizing that they aren't trapped either. The story that once kept so many bound, the lie that there's no way out, no chance of winning, no hope for better, is breaking apart because your life says otherwise. What terrifies them is the ripple effect. It's not just that you've been elevated. It's that your elevation forces people to question everything they were told about limits. Systems of control, whether built on fear, manipulation, or intimidation, only work if people believe escape is impossible. But your testimony is living evidence that the impossible can be broken. You are proof that their rules were never absolute, and that truth spreads faster than any rumor they ever told. Your story dismantles the false authority they depended on. They thrived on keeping others small, convincing them that failure was permanent and success was reserved for a chosen few. But now, here you are showing the world that resilience and faith dismantle even the most elaborate traps. Suddenly their control looks fragile because if one person can overcome, then anyone can. That's what shakes them. The idea that your victory has become a blueprint. The part that burns the most is that they can't contain your influence. Testimonies have a way of multiplying. One person's breakthrough becomes another's courage. One story of survival sparks another's determination. Your good news is like a spark in dry grass. It spreads whether they want it to or not. And no amount of silencing, mocking, or discrediting can put out what has already been ignited. That's why they're terrified. Because your testimony doesn't stop with you. It exposes their power as limited, their systems as weak, and their threats as empty. What they feared most is happening. You're not just winning. You're showing others how to win too. And once people realize they're not trapped, the whole structure of control begins to fall apart. Your story is bigger than you, and that's exactly why it rattles them to their core. Number 10, their envy isn't about what you got, it's about what you survived. Their envy isn't about what you got, it's about what you survived. People often assume jealousy comes from possessions, opportunities, or recognition. But with you, it runs much deeper. If they're honest, they don't just resent the blessing in your hands. They resent the fire you walked through to get it. Because the truth is, they know they couldn't have carried what you carried. They would have broken under half the weight you endured. What shakes them is the fact that you not only survived, but came out refined instead of ruined. Your survival alone exposes their weakness. The hardest pill for them to swallow is that your strength was forged in the very places they thought would destroy you. They expected your hardships to disfigure you, to leave you bitter, small, or permanently damaged. But instead you emerged with clarity, resilience, and a depth they can't imitate. That contrast is what stings. It's easy to envy material success, but what really eats at them is that your blessing is layered with credibility. They can see it was earned through endurance, not shortcuts. That authenticity is something they can't replicate, no matter how much they pretend. Their jealousy reveals a hidden truth. They know they wouldn't have lasted in your shoes. That's why your survival makes them uncomfortable. It mirrors back to them the fragility they try to hide. While you were in the fire, they were watching, secretly relieved it wasn't them. And now that you've come out stronger, they feel exposed, because deep down they know they couldn't have done it. This is why your blessing feels like a spotlight on their inadequacy. It's not the elevation itself that rattles them. It's the fact that the elevation carries a story of survival that makes their excuses collapse. They can't say you had it easier. They can't claim you were handed anything. And they can't downplay the storms you walked through. All they're left with is the uncomfortable reality that you endured what they couldn't, and it highlights the weakness they try so hard to cover up. Your survival is the loudest part of your testimony. It says more than the blessing ever could. And that's what drives their envy. Not what you received, but the strength it took to still be here. You remind them that where they would have fallen, you rose. And the truth unsettles them every time they see you standing. Number 11, they know the spotlight on you will expose their shadows. They know the spotlight on you will expose their shadows. That's the root of their fear. Your good news isn't just about you being celebrated. It's about the attention that celebration draws. And attention is dangerous for people who have built their lives in the dark. They could operate freely while you were overlooked, while no one paid you much mind. But now the light is on you, and where light shines, shadows become visible. Their secrets, their lies, and the roles they played in your suffering are no longer as safe as they once were. This is why your elevation feels threatening to them. It's not simply that you've been blessed. It's that your blessing is like a stage light pulling eyes in your direction. People are asking questions, paying attention, and connecting dots. The more your story is heard, the more their hidden actions are at risk of exposure. They're not terrified of your breakthrough itself. They're terrified of what it might uncover. Your success doesn't exist in isolation. It carries a backstory, and that backstory includes the things they hoped would stay buried. Every time your testimony spreads, it brushes against their carefully constructed image, the kindness they pretended to show, the innocence they claimed to have, the superiority they tried to project. It all starts to crack when people realize what you had to survive to reach this moment. They can't stop the questions from forming in people's minds. If this person overcame so much, then who put them through it? Who tried to block them? Who stood in the way? That's the exposure they dread. They've always been more concerned with appearances than truth, and your light threatens their disguise. The rise of someone they targeted means the fall of their credibility, because success backed by scars speaks louder than polished lies. Your good news shines a light they can't control, and in that light, their shadows betray them. They're terrified because they know exposure is inevitable. Your breakthrough isn't just a testimony, it's a searchlight. And once that light hits, the truth they've hidden for years won't just whisper, it will shout. That's why your rise unsettles them so deeply. Your blessing didn't just lift you up, it dragged their shadows into view. Number 12, they're terrified because they have no strategy for your authenticity. They're terrified because they have no strategy for your authenticity. 4 years they thrived in the world of manipulation. Lies, gossip, distortion, and half-truths were their strongest weapons. They built entire narratives around falsehoods, and they were confident in their ability to twist reality whenever they needed to. But your success isn't a story that can be twisted. It's real, raw, and undeniable. That's why they're panicking. They were prepared to fight lies with more lies. But when faced with authenticity, they're powerless. What makes authenticity so threatening is that it doesn't need defending. A fabricated victory has to be maintained, constantly polished and propped up to keep it believable. But your breakthrough stands on its own. It's evident in your story, in your scars, in the fact that you survived storms that should have buried you. No one can argue with evidence that lives and breathes, and that terrifies them. Because their usual tactics, rumors, slander, smokescreens, bounce off truth like pebbles against a wall. They never planned for someone like you, someone who refuses to wear a mask. In a world where image is everything, authenticity is disruptive. It cuts through the noise. Your rise is so rooted in reality that it exposes everything around it. While they've been curating appearances, you've been building something solid. And now, their carefully staged lives look flimsy next to yours. That contrast makes them feel exposed, because your very existence proves you don't need to lie to stand tall. The truth is, people can sense authenticity. They can feel when something is genuine, and they're drawn to it. That's what makes your success even more dangerous to those who depend on deception. They can't compete with it. No amount of image-building, gossip, or pretense can outweigh the magnetic pull of the real. And you are real. Your story is unpolished but undeniable, and it's reshaping the way people see not only you but also them. They're terrified because authenticity leaves them with no weapons. Lies can fight lies, but nothing can fight truth. Your breakthrough carries truth in its purest form, and that's why they're shaken. They've run out of strategies because authenticity doesn't need defense. It exposes everything else for what it really is. Number 13. Your good news reveals their dependency on your downfall. The truth is, their confidence was never real. It was borrowed. They stood taller only because you were being pushed down. Their sense of superiority didn't come from genuine achievement. It came from comparison. As long as you were struggling, they felt significant. As long as you were beneath them, they could point to you and say, "See, I'm doing better than that." But your breakthrough ripped that measuring stick out of their hands. Now that you've risen, their illusion of power dissolves. What unsettles them most is realizing how much of their identity was tied to your hardship. They weren't as confident as they appeared. They were dependent on you, staying small to validate themselves. Your pain gave them a platform. Your setbacks gave them a sense of importance. And now that those things are gone, they're left scrambling to define who they are without your struggle to lean on. Your rise forced a reality check they weren't prepared for. When you were beneath them, their relevance was secure. They could feed off your story, gossip about your struggles, and find comfort in the gap between your life and theirs. But the moment you rose, the gap closed and in some cases flipped. That shift exposes just how fragile their confidence was. It was never rooted in real growth. It was rooted in your suppression. Now your good news has turned the tables. Every accomplishment you step into highlights the lack of real progress on their side. Without your pain to contrast themselves against, their own stagnation is glaring. That's the quiet panic they're living with. The realization that they never built anything sustainable for themselves. They were too busy feeding off your struggles to nurture their own growth. Your breakthrough doesn't just elevate you, it unmasks them. It reveals that their power wasn't power at all. It was dependency disguised as dominance. And now that dependency has nothing to cling to. Without your downfall, they're left with themselves. And for many of them, that's the most terrifying place to be. Your rise didn't just lift you up. It left them exposed, irrelevant, and powerless in the absence of your struggle. Number 14. They're shaken because your victory didn't just end the game. It changed the rules. They're shaken because your victory didn't just end the game. It changed the rules. For years, they played with confidence because they thought they understood the terrain. They knew the tricks, the shortcuts, the manipulations, and they believed the system would always favor them. They saw you as a piece they could move around, limit, and eventually remove. But when your breakthrough came, it wasn't a simple win within their structure. It dismantled the structure itself. It's like they came prepared for chess, but you flipped the table and introduced an entirely new game they don't know how to play. What terrifies them is not just that you rose, but that your rise exposed the futility of their strategies. Every move they invested in, sabotage, delay, smear campaigns, was designed to work in a certain framework. But your victory proved that framework is no longer valid. You've demonstrated that their power was never absolute, only conditional. The conditions shifted, and suddenly the tactics they relied on have no effect. They're not just losing, they're irrelevant. Your success reset the rules for everyone watching. It showed that resilience beats manipulation, faith outlasts schemes, and authenticity outshines illusion. Now others are beginning to see that the old rules of power and control were an illusion all along. That ripple effect is what unsettles them most. Because once people realize the game can be changed, their influence shrinks even further. You didn't just break free, you opened the possibility for others to do the same. This is why they can't sleep. It's not only about you winning, it's about the fact that their entire system of dominance no longer applies when faced with someone who refuses to play by their rules. Your victory is not an endpoint. It's a new beginning that rewrote the whole landscape. They can't copy it. They can't control it, and they can't undo it. And that helplessness is what terrifies them most. Your good news isn't just a triumph, it's a revolution. You didn't just checkmate them. You made the board itself obsolete. The game they trained for, schemed within and thrived on, no longer exists. That's why they're shaken to their core. Because when the rules change, the old players become powerless. Your rise isn't just a personal victory. It's a seismic shift that echoes far beyond what anyone could anticipate. Every breakthrough, every blessing, every step you've taken has exposed illusions, shattered false power, and rewritten the rules of the game that was once stacked against you. They feared your success, but their fear wasn't about your achievement. It was about truth being revealed, shadows being exposed, and control dissolving before their eyes. Your survival, resilience, and authenticity have become undeniable evidence that nothing they tried could contain you. This victory didn't just elevate you. It dismantled every backdoor they relied on, erased the power they thought they had, and forced them to face their own weakness. It proves that resilience outweighs excuses, authenticity outshines deception, and survival carries a weight that envy can never bear. Your story is no longer private. It's permanent, undeniable, and contagious. It inspires others, exposes the hollow foundations of their influence, and leaves them powerless in the face of your light. You didn't just win a battle. You changed the game entirely. The systems, strategies, and illusions that once held sway are obsolete because you refuse to be defined by them. Your rise isn't just about triumph. It's about transformation. It's a declaration that they were never gatekeepers, that their schemes were never real barriers, and that your destiny cannot be dictated by human limitations. Now, as the dust settles, one thing is clear. Your good news is unstoppable, your story unforgettable, and your power undeniable. They can try to cope, to rationalize, or to hide, but the truth is already written in every victory you claim, every life you inspire, and every shadow your light exposes. Your rise is permanent, your testimony contagious, and your destiny fully yours. Stand in it. Celebrate it. Own it. The game is over for them, but it's only just beginning for you. The world will see, the truth will shine, and nothing can take back what has been earned. Your victory is complete, and the story is forever. If this message hit you the way it was meant to, don't keep it to yourself. Subscribe to the channel now to stay connected to every revelation, every breakthrough, and every truth that others try to hide. Hit that like button to show your energy aligns with this unstoppable movement. Comment below. Share your experiences, your victories, your reflections, because your voice matters and can ignite someone else's breakthrough. And share this video far and wide. Let the truth ripple. Let others see what's possible when they refuse to be held down. Every click, every comment, every share amplifies the power of this message. So step in, engage, and be part of this unstoppable force. God bless you.